Welcome to our Ambition Talks Tax Careers podcast, episode 1. We are delighted to have Evelina Panchal join us today as our guest speaker to talk about her career transition from senior manager to director. Evelina is currently tax director at Blick Rothenberg. Hi, Evelina. Thank you so much for joining us on our podcast today.
Thank you for having me, Claire. It's a pleasure.
Lovely. As mentioned, we will be talking about your exciting career transition as you move from senior manager through to director. Sort of the first thing that we do kind of want to talk about is, when did you know you were ready to take that next step up in your career to director?
Magic question. I wish I could say I went to bed one day thinking I'm ready to be a director the next day, but I don't think it's quite like that. I don't think it's quite like that for anyone, to be honest. And you might know it from your conversations with various candidates as well. But I would probably describe it as a journey. You start early on and you put in the work and you get involved in lots of different projects. And through the years, you build up your experience, other skills like leadership skills. And there comes a point where you kind of think, well, I should be kind of having these conversations and I'd like to be a director. I think the key sort of step ups from senior manager to director are that you are becoming a key driver, a sort of key account holder and key relationship manager and owner on your clients. You are kind of becoming a trusted advisor for them as well. So they come to you with many questions, not just tax related. They might have an employment issue, or they might just want to have a chat and just want to sound something with you. So you are seen as somebody they trust and value your opinion for as well. You also end up inadvertently picking up leadership roles within the team. And it could be performance manager, but it could be wider people role, like a chair for the people leader team. Or it could be some sort of financial role for the team, looking after the finances or strategy. So you end up doing that. And I was doing a number of those roles. I was very lucky throughout my career in various firms because I actually got the opportunity to get involved in lots of these things quite early on as well. So that was brilliant for me. And I would encourage anyone to do that as well. And another key element is, most directors and partners in particular are work winners for the firm. That's what we are in business for. So, you win a lot of work from existing clients, but you also build relationships with other clients through the connections you might have internally within the firm you work for, or through the other advisors like law firms, for example. So that becomes a key part of your job. You are kind of out there in the market winning work and helping grow the firm.
And that is quite a big change though, wasn't it? I think, before you sort of start thinking about moving into that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's not for everyone, I would say it's probably key to understand what kind of director you want to be, because at director level, you still have a little bit of a choice in most firms.
Agreed.
In that you can either be, they call it market-facing director, so win the work, deliver some of it as well, or you could be really high technical director if you love tax legislation and you love getting stuck into detail and delivering massive reports. You could be a trusted person within the firm who is known as a specialist for a particular subject and that people would go to with various questions. And you need people like that as well, because how will you do the work? So I think that's one of the key probably things you need to distinguish and determine, and then understand if that could work where you currently are in your current firm.
Excellent. So how did you actually gear yourself up for that transition from senior manager to director?
There are a couple of things to kind of consider. I guess, as I say, it's a bit of a journey, and through that journey, you observe other directors and partners in the team, and you kind of start picturing what kind of director you might want to be. And I alluded earlier, sort of deliberately, people are kind of put into two categories almost just to make it a bit easier, the whole process a little bit easier. But you tend to be either more market-facing and work-winning director, or more high technical delivery. I mean, you're still expected to deliver work at the director level for sure, but it's just what your business case might look like changes a little bit. And that will help you determine what your business case is. So you will have to come up with a business case for sure. And that will cover a number of aspects. One of them will be what is your role? Like, are you doing more technical delivery? Are you working with clients? You'll also probably pick up a leadership role within the team inadvertently, because you will be in a leadership position. People will be looking up to you. So you are unconsciously becoming very aware of that. And so you might want to do something a bit more formal for the team. And that's another thing you might want to consider. And you might naturally have a really big personality or opinions that you are seen as a leader anyhow without having to do anything external because you're very good at winning work, for example. So everyone is a little bit different. So I, for example, quite enjoyed having formal people roles. So I am currently doing a people role for the team, which is still in transition. So I don't want to announce it because it hasn't been announced to the team, but I have in the past held team roles as well. And then I would say don't be shy having conversations with the performance manager. Try and do that early on, because then you'll know what you have to do, what the process might look like, and there will definitely be a process. Each firm has a slightly different process, and you and I touched on this when we were talking throughout. Some firms have a really long process that take months, and there are stages, quite formalized stages throughout the year that certain things need to be done by, paperwork, panels, panel runs, pre-actual panels. So I think understanding what you are getting yourself into and what will be involved will be really helpful, because it might take a whole year to actually just prepare for it and then another year to actually go through it. So definitely have a conversation with your performance manager, understand what that looks like. And also gauge from your feedback, like, what do you need to work on to get there as well? Because everyone has development points, everyone has their strengths. And so part of the process is trying to work on those as well and put yourself in the best light, but also come away with a plan to say, this is how I'll do this as a director. Sponsor is another key, I would say. You definitely need to find yourself someone who will be willing to invest the time in your process and getting you up to the director level. And it's time consuming for them as well. So find someone you trust, someone who believes in you, and someone who is the support that you need to kind of help you get there. There will definitely be a lot of financial scrutiny in most firms, I would say, from my experience. So make sure you understand what you will need to track, the revenues, maybe profit margins, etc. But understand what those targets are that you need to get yourself to, and understand what information you might need to gather, because that can be quite tricky to obtain sometimes.
Are they quite upfront? Are your sponsors as such, or management, are they quite upfront with actually sharing the information?
I think yes. If they are bought into your case and they want you to succeed in it, then they're completely behind you, and they will be sharing the information. Obviously, it's not going to be shared with necessarily everyone, but to help you get there, to help you demonstrate what you need to demonstrate, they are really helpful. They'll put you in contact with finance teams, they'll give you tips, etc. So do build that network, not just with the sponsor, I would say build wider network, perhaps with other senior managers that have been through the process just recently, or that are going through the process with you, maybe in a different department, or it could be in the same department as well. Yeah, just don't be shy trying to talk, have those conversations. I know everyone is different, and some people are quite comfortable talking about it, and some people are less comfortable talking about it, because obviously if you're not successful, it's, people are worried how they'll be perceived by the team, and I totally understand that as well. But I think it's important to remember that there's personal case that you are putting together for yourself, but it has to be aligned with the business case as well. So, and people who have tried to go for it through various career steps in their firms will know what I mean, in that you might be ready as a person, but maybe business hasn't done so well, or maybe there is greater need in other departments. They will have limited number of business cases that they can offer each department. And so sometimes, you can be ready as much as you can, but there might not be a business case for you as well. So kind of be ready and prepared for that. So I guess if you are going for that, make sure that you do your absolute utmost best, because otherwise you'll have to go through it again, which I have known people do, and it is quite frustrating, and it's quite draining as well, and emotionally draining, because you are putting a lot of effort into it.
It's motivating as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
You think you're almost there, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, you might need another year.
Exactly. So that question that you ask, being ready and when do I know, it's so tricky, because you might know, but it might not quite work out because of business case. But I think all you can do is being ready yourself, knowing that you have achieved what you need to achieve, believing in yourself, practicing your panel runs if that's what you need to do, but trying to be as comfortable as you can with it. And I think innately, if you feel comfortable, you will come across as a director because you have built that confidence and belief in yourself. And it also takes time. So yes, you want to kind of, before you go through it all, you want to make sure that you are ready for it and you can accept that things might not go quite well necessarily because of the business case, for example, but you will do absolute utmost best to succeed and put your best foot forward.
Those are some really, really amazing, I think, tips, because you don't normally actually see the side of things, really.
No, and that's a good point to raise. Some firm, there's typically real formal process for junior grades. People go through exams and they automatically get promoted to assistant manager. Then there is a bit more structure from assistant manager to manager, from manager to senior manager. But obviously these are not the senior leadership roles, but there is a bit more, I guess, transparency as to how that works because more people would have gone through it as well. When it comes to director partner promotions, there's sort of understanding that it is involved, but not every firm is completely transparent as to what happens. And actually some of in my previous firms, people have suggested that, and they actually put, webinars for the senior manager population to say, this is the process, this is how it will look like, to kind of make them familiar with it, which I think is a great idea. Because you otherwise are sort of trying to work out what needs to happen when. And as I say, in a lot of firms, there's only one cycle, as in one promotion cycle.
One chance in a year. Yeah,
so
you missed it.
If you're only getting ready for a year for the next year cycle, that's 2 years that it's taken up. So you want to start thinking about it earlier if that is your ambition. And you want to have those conversations earlier so that you do kind of get on top of it and understand what's involved. And, it's not for everyone as well. I know lots of great senior managers and associate directors who are juggling other things potentially as well, or they just enjoy being at that level too. So sometimes people go for director grade because that's what is expected.
Yeah, that's all that they know is
that's what happens. But I would say, don't, just because others are doing doesn't mean you need to do that as well. So be comfortable that you want to do that. Because, a big change will happen when you become a director, which probably brings me onto the next point, the role.
Yes, so do tell us about your new role and what do you get to do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so I guess the biggest difference is that depending on the firm you work for, you are essentially signing out the advice, and sometimes you are the final sign-out point. And sometimes you'll get other partner to review it. And sometimes there'll be a more formal process where the partner will definitely have to review it before anything goes to client, or quite technical advice goes to client. But irrespective of that, the expectation is that whatever you're presenting, if it needs to be reviewed, is essentially pretty much ready to be sent to client. So you are working to a really high standard. And you are very much working towards looking from client's perspective. If I am a client and I'm receiving this, does it make sense? Is it too technical? Does it not make any sense? And you find yourself having to manage quite a lot of stakeholders internally quite often. If you are working on a project that requires inputs from various specialists, for example, you are reviewing the report to bring it all together, and you will end up going backwards and forwards, making sure it reads well, that we are recommending clear, succinct actions, that it makes sense, that it reads well. So a lot of that is not so much even knowing your technical stuff, but being commercial and being practical and pragmatic quite often as well, because you want to help clients, you want to be helpful, and you want to give them good advice that they value. And, just giving them lots of information isn't helpful. You kind of need to recommend things. And you very much, as a director, having to look at it and say, does it help the client? Is that value add at all? You very much look at things from sort of that perspective. I think that really changed, it begins to change from manager level. But as a director, you really kind of become, wow, okay, it's really on my shoulders. There's a lot of responsibility there. And then I would say I spend a lot of time speaking to clients, and I love that. I mean, that's intentional, probably. Lots of new clients and targets, just trying to see how we can help them if we want to, like if they need any advice on anything, spotting opportunities as well. You know, I had just very good example I had recently. They wanted some structuring advice, but it then transpired that actually the owner could do with some personal tax advice as well, but also they could do with some customs advice because they will be shipping various parts to create whatever it is they're creating. I'm keeping it quite confidential because it is. And then they might need some VAT advice and some international tax advice because they will work cross-border. And so all of a sudden you add all of those little bits, but you kind of need to have awareness to be able to do that. But that's a key, I guess that's a key attribute of being a director, in that, you know, you're not just doing I'm a corporate tax specialist and I'll just do my corporate tax specialist work. If you are a market-facing director, your role is very much to bring in other work as well. And that could be, as I say, new, but it could be on existing clients, but it's being able to spot how else we can help. You know, they'll just talk to you and they say, oh, I'm struggling with this. And you'll be like, oh, sometimes it will be just common sense advice that you can help them with. Or you know the answer straight away, but sometimes it will be like, I think you need to think about this because it can get quite complex. And so, you know, that becomes a big part of your job, kind of being that sort of assessor, trusted advisor, coming back to that point. I am, as I say, people manager for the team as well, and I am taking on this bigger role that I can't talk about in detail, which is really exciting. Yes, I have actually been involved into the program that Blick offers. That's called Evolve, which is all about helping you understand your leadership style and skills. And so we use this insights profile, which I've done before as well, but it kind of talks about your natural tendencies. You know, are you more logical, assertive, or introvert? Like, where do you sit on that sort of spectrum? And that helps you understand how you come across as a person, as a leader, how others who are maybe on the opposite spectrum to you might react to you. And so it's all about self-awareness and being able to make most of it, which is really interesting. And then obviously it involves a number of steps in terms of how does Blick work, what directors at Blick look like, which is great. Yeah, I'm really excited about that as well.
It looks like it's going to be a big role for you.
Well, it's definitely an exciting program. And I would say if you get the opportunity to do anything like that, because different firms offer it at different levels, typically when you pass a milestone, sometimes from manager to senior manager, you'll get like a day of some sort of training, or maybe more. Every firm will have something else. Take those opportunities up. You don't often get the chance to kind of step back from your day job, think, you know, softer skills to kind of assess what you're doing and think about your role. And so take those opportunities, I would say, as much as you can.
And it's so important.
There's always something to learn.
I think, you know, just listening to you speak about how your role has transitioned, the softer aspect of things, it's actually very important. Whereas I think, as you mentioned, maybe pre-manager is very much focused on your technical knowledge and all your ability from that angle. So I think it's lovely to hear, though, that, you know, Blick Rothenberg is actually investing into their people, providing you with training on that aspect, which it will be helpful as well in the long run, won't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, that was part of the reason why I chose Blick as well as my next employer, because they do invest a lot into training and development of employees, and they've grown substantially, as you know, over the last few years. And, you know, they've gone through a lot of change, and a lot of change has happened since I joined and is still happening. And that was another reason why I picked them, because it's exciting to be part of the change. You know, as a leader, as a director, I get an opportunity to influence how things are implemented or how they're being, addressed. So that was part of the attraction for joining the team as well. But, you know, other than that, it's just such a variety of work. We work, you know, from owner-managed businesses to large, newly listed businesses. So it's really exciting to be able to have this opportunity to kind of get involved in a variety of work and work quite closely with other teams as well. You know, that's what I spend a lot of time doing now, building my internal network again, because whenever you join a new firm, you end up, you know, building and sort of getting to know people around the firm, so you can refer work to them and maybe they will to you, or just run a technical question by them. Yeah, so that's really exciting too.
Excellent. So is your team actually currently hiring, and what are your expansion plans?
The team, there are definitely huge growth plans for the team, and there's always a transitional period because it's not a secret that Blick had invested in a couple of firms of last year, I believe, and so there's some integration that has happened, and now we are sort of consolidating and putting a plan together as to what it looks like going forward. And we are always on the lookout for good, talented people. So yes, of course, if anyone wants to come and have a chat with me, very, very welcome to consider them as well.
Thank you. It's been amazing speaking to you, Evelina. I think, you really have taught us so much, a lot of tips, a lot of insight that others may not sort of be exposed to. So I really appreciate the time that you spent with us, and we look forward to speaking again.
No problem, Claire. It's a pleasure. As I say, it's always nice to share the experiences. I don't mind. If it's helped one person, I've done my job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.